Good evening. I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and this is Street Talk. And I have two great guests with me tonight. Okay, I have to say I've been very gracious to have with me Kathy Johnson, who's sitting across from me, who got me interviewed and got me to say why they call me Father. And I just did another show with her. Actually, today I'm doing this show right after the one I did with her, and I have Michael Maynard with me again, my return guest on Street Talk. Kathy, love to have you.
Thank you, Father.
Okay, and Michael, obviously, Michael, you're down here visiting with me, and took you to Kathy's show, and you did Kathy's show, right? And I just want to, of course, I know a lot about you, okay? We met through Facebook and our conversations with another wonderful friend of ours who's out there watching me right now, MJL, okay? Mr. Leonard, who does my show and is the book publisher for me with Little Red Cell. So my audience pretty much knows the folks, although, and Kathy, actually, you're a returning guest too, huh? We did the we did the show with Robert, your son.
Yes, we did.
Because
we came to New London.
Right, and he's an ABI injured individual, right, that you've dealt with. He did that great painting that I love.
Of the Indian.
Of the
yes,
Indian.
Yes, it hangs in my living room.
It's in your living room, and it's your husband's favorite painting, so I'm not going to get it.
We'll make a print for you, Father.
Right. But we were talking with Michael today, you and we did your show, right? And,
yes.
And Michael, you told one audience who you are, but now you got to go back and tell my audience who you really are. The real Michael Maynard.
Well, first of all, Father Russ, it's nice being had. Again, I'm Michael Maynard from Stowe, Massachusetts. Russ and I have known each other now for a couple years. I work now as a writer and a journalist. You can read my writings, which are individual, at mmaynard119.wordpress.com. And I have a history. Previously, I ran a consulting firm, Masmuth Partners, for 30 years. And so I bring a variety of different interests and backgrounds into what I do.
Yeah, the thing is, and you can Google you. You can go on Google for those who don't remember. We should have a sign for that. For those who don't remember your website, you can Google you and Michael Maynard and your blog and
sure. Or it's Michael A. Maynard.
Michael A.
And I had to use that because I thought Michael Maynard's a kind of a unique name. There are 20 different Michael Maynards out in the public domain. You'd be surprised. Kathy Johnson.
Oh, well, that's all over the place, you know.
Yeah,
it is amazing. Yeah. And you have it's unique in what you're doing. Okay, we were talking a little bit about it on Kathy's show, and I want to make sure, Kathy, you besides being on my show now, you have your own show.
Well, yes.
My sister's show.
Yes. At Town Talk, and we have a lot of fun with that. And I met you, Father, and since I've met you, a lot of doors are opening up for me. You must have a connection with the man upstairs.
Only you get me to say that, right? right. Well, that's a whole show that you did on me.
On Father, yes.
Yeah. So you two are the Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow of New London.
I guess that's about it.
Yeah. Her show does 24. Those that could look it up on our channel 24. The tape shows that we do. I know my co-host, who's usually here, Dominic Cotton. I taped a show without you, Dominic. I'm sorry. He takes care of where we go up. We go up in 5 or 6 different areas now around the state.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, yes.
And Facebook.
And Facebook and all that stuff. Dominic has done a monumental work for us in that area. I mean, there's only so much, and I could do myself, but he had the skills to do all that. And he's very effective, a great advocate, and,
Yes.
and great with our legislature. He deals with all my, individuals that may have trouble talking to Father because Father's far left socialistic views.
Yeah.
Well, plus you're a shy, retiring person
Oh,
too.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have the good cop and the bad cop, like that. But he puts my shows up on YouTube also.
Oh, yes.
So you just have to Google us, and we're right there.
Yeah, you can find us, but we were. It was very interesting. We were talking about. We're doing a lot of religious talk lately, okay? And on Kathy's talks, we were talking about the Roman Catholic structure in Pope Francis, which is, which he's coming here. He's going to be here in September, I believe it's September, okay? I don't think he's bringing back cardinal law with him to be thrown into Walpole where I was. I'd like to see that, though.
Well, if he did, the seafood restaurants in Boston would greatly love him.
Structurally, we were talking about how he went in and what he's doing, and how do you view it, Michael? I mean,
Well, it's a tough situation that he finds himself in. He finds himself coming into a church in crisis and in transition. And the crisis is obviously what occurred over the past decades of the pedophilia scandal, which they've tried very hard to kind of get past, but it's still out there lingering. And I believe that it still hasn't been fully reconciled. But it's also a church in transition, that the traditional base of the church in Europe and the United States, the numbers are dwindling. And so the new direction of the church is in third world countries. So as we discussed, South America, where the Pope Francis comes from, Asia, China, and the Asia Pacific. So he has the combination of having to go in and clean house, take care of previous issues, which he's done some, not all, but some, and try to move in a new direction. Fortunately, he has the personality and the instinct. I think his instincts are wonderful. Mm-hmm. The things that going out into the community and doing some of the things that he did, like going and washing the feet of the convict, which Jesus would do.
Mm-hmm. Which is,
Yes.
centered to the gospel.
Or putting up the showers outside the Vatican so that street people can come take a shower.
Right.
Those are all little things, but they're magnified because it's changing the image from the previous regimes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's getting back to the roots of our gospel. I mean, that's how I see it. But you're right. He's in the United States. He's got two huge issues here. Well, at least two, maybe three. Okay, the pedophile issue. If he doesn't fix that and deal with that here, reparations, repair. You can forget it. The other biggest issue, I think. Now, people keep saying it. I don't think it's the gay issue. I think it's women.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess from a woman's point of view, yes. Yes, I think a lot of the churches don't recognize that a woman can be a leader. The Eastern...
Leader? No leading, Kathy, no leading.
Well, shame on me.
Cooking, cleaning, being pregnant in the kitchen. Isn't that the role?
And you know something? If I didn't make another supper for the rest of my life, even just for my husband, it would be too soon. I'm not really Betty Crocker. Never was. And not that I don't admire the Betty Crockers of this world. Believe me, there's a place for everyone. But I want to go back to the days where there was the Oracle of Delphi. I mean, what happened to the high priest?
Right.
What happened to the priestess? And I mean, I can't see that happening very soon in the Eastern or the Western Church.
Excuse me.
I mean, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. Of course, we've finally proven as women that we can break into politics and actually lead, and that. But that is a disappointment, and I don't know what you think or anybody else thinks, but I think it's going to be. I won't see it in my lifetime. A leader or a priest in. A priestess, would you
Priestess,
call? Yes,
priestess.
priestess in any of the in the Roman Catholic Church. I don't see that.
So,
Right.
so if you had a female pope, she'd be a popist?
Well, there's
Or
you know what we historically think about
popette?
that. Many people do not understand that we may have had. Yeah, okay. History, many people do not, they don't study the theology that you and I have studied, that we may have had a female pope.
And certainly we've had married popes.
That's why we've
with
had
families
definitely married with
and with
kids
kids
and
and-
huge amount of children.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly right, and we still do. I mean, right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not popes, but we still have a lot of cardinals and stuff like that run a dual role that a lot of people don't know about.
Or the priests that they brought in from other denominations who
Which would condone.
with condone.
Which was a condone thing. Oh yeah, that's what somebody
A
said.
lot of it
How
was
could
led
you
by
be?
economics, right?
Yeah, well, it is. It is economical. I mean, that is really when you start talking about priests being married, you're talking about. Well, see, in the Orthodox Church, your church, they marry.
Oh yes, they as long they have to marry. I think before they take their final vow.
Before the final vow. Okay.
I think that's it. Yes, and then they can never become a bishop.
Oh, I did not know that.
They can't be a bishop.
Oh,
no,
okay.
they can't go any higher. But
Okay.
they marry.
But they marry, so the child support is there, the children's support, and all those economical things that must be family things are tied. See, that's what, as soon as you start thinking this in the Roman Church, that's what you got to think about. You got to think about support of the wife, children, insurance, blah, blah, and the economics
Right,
of that.
right.
So that's always in the way. But
Well, sure. Or if you're a priest, you can get sent to a new parish at any time.
at any time, that's exactly right. Any place in the world.
Yes.
Right, they want to
Yes.
see when Father. That's what Father Lewis said. Yeah, you become a Roman priest. Well, even as a monk, he wanted to send me to Italy. He was trying to let's get you out of the country, Russ. This is what I am a Benedictine. A lot of people. I'm a non-denominational priest, but I'm a Benedictine Oblate. I was going to be a monk, but didn't take my finals.
So you've got this kind of interesting situation where you've got a lot of the old policies still embedded inside the church. You still got a lot of the
Yes.
old attitudes.
Right.
You can't sweep them all out, or else you would have no functioning church if you got rid of everybody,
Right.
or the ones who are obstructionist. But on the other hand, you've got the realities of the 21st century. And the 21st century is certainly that the world is becoming less white mainstream, and it's becoming more Chinese, Japanese, Mexican, so on,
interracial,
interracial.
Yeah,
Yes.
interracial. Yeah, well, structurally, he looks like obviously he's moving the church to South America, Africa, China, stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't changed any policies. No policies have been changed. It's nice to say, "Oh, I welcome you in my church, and you're gay, and everything else like that." But that thing that says I ain't going to heaven. What about? Is that changed yet?
Oh, but what about the gay priests? You can't say there's not gay priests. There certainly are.
Of course, we know there are.
We
right?
know there
right,
are.
Right. We know there
Sure
are.
there
Sure.
Yeah, exactly right. But he ain't
But you
going to
can't
heaven.
But you can't. Well, but on the other hand, he can minister,
Yeah,
and he can provide the sacraments.
well,
As long as he
that's
doesn't
the,
act on his sexuality.
well, see that's it.
Yeah.
So.
So.
Yeah.
So what?
So what?
Yeah, I mean, but that's what they said, you know, that's what.
This is a whole difficulty that's going on and that they're talking about, and how do they deal with that kind of situation?
Well, if you think about it, they kind of box themselves in.
Yeah,
You're supposed to be a man. You're supposed to be a man of the people, but on the other hand, you're a man of the people, but not like the people. And so you're not. You're supposed to be in the community, but not one with the community.
Yeah, very.
It's-
And where did that come from? I don't remember any scripture that says that.
Remember any of
Where
that.
did they pull this, that it's
Hey,
in the Bible or
you
something?
know,
Something from the Old Testament, maybe?
When I got my annulment, when I was going to do the Roman thing, I got my annulment from my first marriage. Okay, so the annulment from my first marriage says I've never been married. I was married at 16. So as far as the Roman Church is concerned, all the other marriages that I had were not in the Roman tradition. They don't count. So they don't care. Okay,
Right.
so there was a point when I was about 55. I had to make a decision if I wanted to do this, and of course my mentor said, "You're an activist. You're this here. You need to. You don't need this." Of course, he probably knew that I was going to probably fool around some more and whatever else. Maybe
Right.
had number 6 in
Yeah,
someplace or whatever, right?
or-
But I really don't think, from my perspective, I don't think you're able to really understand and be priestly or pastoring until you've lived a life of experience. How's that? That a nice way to say that?
That's a good way of saying
To
it.
get
Yes.
myself.
Out of the mess you're in.
But the question is, what exactly is being a priest?
Yeah, exactly right. What is
Okay,
that?
is it just passing on the words of the Bible and your interpretation of it, or is it being out in the community? And if it's being out in the community, you don't need to be a male to be out in the community and doing good things.
No,
You're expecting the
Yes.
nuns to do that,
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
that's right. That's right.
and so there is.
Well,
you know,
that's your job, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that their job?
Well,
The
hey,
nuns and
hey,
the ladies, we're not supposed to cook, right?
No,
No,
let's not bring.
no.
Let's
Jesus
not bring
wasn't cooking. I could even use scripture about
Yes, he
that.
did. Yes, he was.
When did he?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Oh yeah. You got me there. I was thinking of the other.
Yeah,
I was thinking of him sitting down, having Mary and his sister deal with the meals. You're thinking of another time.
of course
That's right.
they
If you
did
know,
walk-
if you know what Jesus was cooking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What was
right.
it? Was it Mary or Martha? And
Martha Mary.
That's
yeah.
it.
Mary, who was washing his feet with the expensive oil.
With the oil and
Yeah.
him while she was in the kitchen cooking. I love that one. I love that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, priest, my definition of being priestly is actually traditionally and as best you can follow what Jesus did. That's what your job is.
Right.
That's what your job. That's what the apostles and the disciples were being trained to do. And one of them happened to be a lady.
Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the
Mary
key.
Magdalene, yeah.
Yeah. So he was training them all. You know, I
Sure.
mean, they get me and say, what do you mean there's no leaders in the church? Paul himself built the church with ladies. The ladies built the church.
Well, the women were the first
They were-
people that said he was resurrected.
There you go.
The women.
That's right.
That's
so
right.
so why we have this political problem is beyond me. See, I got
I don't get it myself.
I don't
I
get
really
it.
don't.
I don't.
Oh, I do.
You
Go
do.
Yes, I do. Because because most organizations are, particularly modern organizations, are built around a male hierarchy, and decisions are made by the male hierarchy. This is slowly changing,
Yes.
but not as fast as everyone like to think it is. But so supposedly the wisdom of the world is built around the white male hierarchy to decide what should be going on elsewhere. Well, we know that's not particularly worked so well.
No.
And we have a classic example coming up in the next 18 months. The first potential woman president. There is no other person who's had the experience, overall experience and background that Hillary Clinton had. Now, with that, she does have some baggage. She has people who are very passionate about her becoming president. Some for policy reasons, some for the fact that it's time to have a female president.
Yes.
Okay, but there are others who say, well, it's Hillary Clinton, and she's not Elizabeth Warren. She's
Yes.
not liberal enough. She's not this. She's not that. And so there's going to be, there is this big issue around the fact that it's underlying, but it's the fact that given all that's going on in the world, do you want to have a woman who is leading the free world? Now, my view, perfect. And you couldn't get anybody better, more experienced, and reasoned than Hillary Clinton. On the other hand, is she an effective communicator? Does she have the ability to lead and get people to follow her? That's what we're going to find out.
Well, we will know that, and that in itself is an art. I mean, what I admire about Hillary Clinton is, and I've thought about this and thought about this. There are so many people that say, we don't mind a woman, but not that woman. Well, there's a few things here. I admire her. First of all, she's a brilliant woman with a lot of experience. And of course she has baggage. You can't be a political figure for the number of years that she has been a political figure without baggage. I would remind some of my Republican and unaffiliated friends that Hillary started out supporting Barry Goldwater, who was probably the most conservative Republican you could imagine in his time. You grow and you change through the years. If I have to pick a woman right now to be President of the United States, for me it would be Hillary, because she's capable, she has the knowledge, she has the experience, and she knows the way of politics in Washington and the way of the world. Now, having said that, we go to what you just mentioned. Can she present herself as a leader? Can she communicate with herself? I'm going to say I think she can when she starts to not worry about every single thing she says and does. I think she's over the fact that she wears pantsuits. I think she's over the fact that people talk about what her legs look like, what this is, what that is. Once you can get that kind of skin and you can go forward and just be yourself, that's what you do. And in her situation, with the baggage, comes with the notoriety and the number one person that they're all looking at. She's taking flack. She's the target. When you look at her that way, now she has to have a thick skin. She has to get through it, and she has to learn how to do that. But how does she do it as a woman? Here's the problem with being a woman in politics. How do you stay feminine but firm? How do you get the attention of men and women but still be gentle? How do you dress well but look professional? Everything like that is against you. Why, the woman can't even, Maynard can cry in public and it gets by. She sheds a tear in public and she's a weak woman. So this is the problem. And having been the first selectman in a small town politics, in a town that's made up of unaffiliated voters and Republicans, and basically a moderate to conservative town, the only three women that have ever been elected to office since the 1700s when the town was founded were three Democrat women. And it started in the 90s with Kate Cosgrove, then 2001, Kathy Johnson, and most recently, 4 or 5 years ago, I can't think of the date, but Mary Ann Drayton Rogers. All three of us Democrat women in a town of a lot of conservatives and Republicans. So I think that it says a lot for women, and I think that Hillary can do the same job. I had to brag about myself a little bit, and my other Democrat women. I can't help it.
Number one, you because you can pull it off. You can do all those things. You're able for whether it's lack of fear or anything else, you get out there and you do all those things. You dress the part, you do the part. You can cry in public, rightfully so, and okay, and pull it off. Okay, you're able to do that. Some people can do that. Some people can't.
But-
Plus, we have to teach her how to get outside of herself.
How do you teach, excuse me, but how do you teach any politician how to get outside of
Yeah,
themselves?
well,
You know, it's a fickle public.
Yeah.
If you aren't acting strong and talking about that, either way, you can't win that. You can't win that.
Anybody who knows you, though, see, that's the thing. How does she? The difference is people know you and understand you and can define all those things with you because you're local and stuff like that. That's probably the one big problem with Hillary is her ability to communicate all those things.
Well, that's it.
She's always been now Secretary of State. She's loved and known. She's loved
Throughout
all
the
over the
world.
world. Okay, people don't know the power that her image has all over the world. Okay, we don't necessarily see her in the same light the rest of the world does. She was able to do that. Her problem is right here at home, how she communicates that she is that personal person. And
Well, but
I was going to let
because
Michael say.
I know, but let me say one
Go ahead.
last thing.
No,
One
no,
last
no,
thing.
No, go ahead.
Because
No, go ahead. Go.
she has been too long in that room that you start forgetting what it's like
bubble.
on the outside.
Yeah, right.
And the other last thing I'll say for myself is this. You see, I don't worry about winning and losing an election on an issue. The issue's the issue, and what's right for the citizens in the town is what's right for the citizens, and I can't stand this Machiavellian crap. And having said that, now follow that.
Okay, this is a paid commercial for the Kathy Johnson for
Yes, it
President Committee.
Hey, my constituents are watching
Right,
me, or my
amen.
hopefully my.
Well, the fact that we're actually, people are actually discussing the fact that Hillary Clinton wears pantsuits.
Yeah.
Why? Or
Yeah.
or the fact that Sarah Palin, who only served half of a term as governor of Alaska, good, bad, or indifferent, part of the reason she was chosen was that female, good-looking, and would attract a certain segment of the voters,
public.
voting public, as far
Right,
as it goes.
exactly, right.
So it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you want the intelligence, you want the experience, you want the capacity to view the world in a different manner, perhaps a more people-oriented manner as opposed to a more authoritarian manner. But on the other hand, you don't want it to be a woman. Why?
Yeah, there's the $64,000 question. Why? I'm too close to being. I'm a female, and I can't see it. I don't know why. Can you see it as a journalist?
Oh, sure. As far as that goes, because it upsets the traditional order. Things do not happen quickly. Things happen incrementally. The fact that Barack Obama was elected president and a lot of the difficulties that he's experienced is the fact that he came in and he changed the established order. And there's a degree of inertia in every organization. There's a degree of inertia in almost everything. And change comes incrementally, except in those rare instances when things are so dramatic, events occur that change happens radically. But it takes something big.
Well, of course, I'm Hillary fan. She's a Wellesley girl.
Okay, yes.
And of course I know their history right from the beginning, and the Clinton history and all that. I mean, I know the Rod. I mean, she's capable. My issue is she's the most capable one out there. That's the one that's going to get my vote. I don't care what they say. Elizabeth Warren isn't running. And that's it. Anybody who thinks Liz is running can forget it, and because she knows where she is at this particular time and what she's about. I love Elizabeth Warren. You know.
But here's the difference between the two. Elizabeth Warren can connect with people.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
part of
she's
the
a
reason,
people person.
well, it's more than that. Is she stands for something. She goes out, she speaks her mind. That's what people want to hear. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Hillary Clinton's been around for a long time. Elizabeth Warren hasn't, so she has a history, and like any politician, you can go back through the history and you can pick out certain things. So maybe there was something that 20 years ago that you believed this should be this, and 20 years later you should believe something different. Now you're accused of being a flip-flop artist, or you're trying to waffle. But that's not just male and female. But with a female, it's more like, oh, female can't make up her mind.
Well, I mean, but how can anybody say what's she looking for? It takes a village, you know what I mean?
Sure.
She's been leading children's stuff since she was in college, not let alone a political thing. Okay, I mean, she's been a community organizer. She's an Alinsky girl. I mean, the healthcare issue. She led the way in the healthcare issue.
Yes.
Okay, picked up off of Kennedy and went in there, and they hated her for that.
Oh, well, I got blasted the other day.
Yeah.
I got blasted the other day because I said that, gee, folks, really, what you have now in terms of the Affordable Care Act, the progenitor of the Affordable Care Act was Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, you're right.
And people, I got the no. I said, go back and look.
Go back
See,
and look.
look at the history.
They don't
of
see. They
course.
don't know the history. So when you're talking about, I mean, I heard somebody say she got no issue. I said, well, you crazy? All you got to do is look at her history. You're talking child care.
Right.
You're talking all those are grassroots type of thing. You're talking medical and history. She didn't win it, but she fought for it.
She did.
But those are also considered to be women's issues.
Yes. Well.
Oh, okay.
No, in fairness, they're considered fairness.
I like that because it's time for a woman.
Agreed.
Well, she also, if you recall, was the first lady that dared to step out of the little box that, whether you wanted to grow plants or vegetables or whether it was just say no to drugs. Hillary was a partner. She was viewed by Bill that she had the brains to help with
They were a team, yeah.
with
Right,
important issues.
Yeah.
And even my own sex from that era didn't like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and actually before her was Rosalind Carter. But
Yes.
Rosalind Carter did it in a different manner.
Different in a way.
Yes.
Different
yes.
manner. But she was behind the scenes. The stories come out about
we can-
Rosalind Carter
I
going
wish-
out into the staff meeting.
Staff meetings.
Oh,
right.
well, let's not forget about Eleanor Roosevelt.
I wish
Absolutely.
you and I were right on
Oh,
Roosevelt,
my goodness.
right?
There
We
you
ran the
go.
country then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who was running the country?
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Well, I thought it was interesting. They have this thing about who should be on the $20 bill, and so they have a list. So there's a list of women, right? As Sojourner Truth and various other women, and Eleanor Roosevelt,
Eleanor Roosevelt.
who's done more. Who's done more
More
to change the direction of the country than
Than
Eleanor?
anybody else.
I would say Eleanor.
I would too.
Yeah.
Me
That
too.
would be a vote. I
I
would
voted
vote that.
I voted that.
I would vote that. That's what I would vote.
and it's no knocking on the rest of the women.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it isn't a knock on the rest. There should just be more space.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I actually picked it up twice out of my jewelry box today. I happen to have that eagle pin with the pearl on it. The insider pin from Clinton days that Hillary wore all the time and all the women, Democrat women wore. I was so tempted to put it on today. And I said, gee, if some of the people in Oxford see I'm wearing a Hillary pin, gee, I could lose some votes that way. Now, it's hard not to think that way sometimes, even when you have my personality and say, I don't care. I can't tell you folks out in Oxford, if you're watching this ever, I wish I had my Hillary Clinton pin on. There you have it.
Yeah, well, it's time.
It's time,
It
yes.
really is. And I think a lot, and it's up to I think the women. It's up to the women, okay, to put her in. I think I think it's all the independents and everybody else that says, look, this is time. You got to be kidding me. Brain power? What are you worried about? Brain power, recognition around the world, baggage, yes, always okay. But you're talking serious leadership.
But you're also talking about breaking the established order,
Yeah.
because you have the
Well,
new.
it's time.
Well, I know it's time. You know it's time. You know that the population has gone away from the traditional white male base into being female, being non-white. You know, Latino,
that's right.
Latino, Black, Asian, so on. And they are now the majority. In Texas, the Hispanics are becoming the majority.
Yes.
The
Right.
white, the white male Republican establishment is deathly afraid of this. But are they willing to do anything to change? No. I'm in the process of writing about this, going back and looking at. There was a Republican report after the 2000. The presidential election, the 2012 election, written by the National Committee, Republican National Committee, about how they need to be friendlier towards women and minorities and gays and all the rest of that. And it drew a lot of attention at the time and a lot of controversy and so on. And say, oh yeah, they're gonna start changing.
Not
Have
at
they
all.
done? Have they done anything to change?
No.
No. And part of it is the established order, and the established order is also associated with the moneyed interests.
It's not, and again, the people power isn't there yet. They're not voting enough yet. It's the problem we have every place. Okay, if the people power, and people do not understand how powerful that the vote is, that you need to get out and vote. And people, if they don't take it personal, they don't vote. Yeah, okay.
Well, it's not just vote, but get out and organize,
Oh,
get out and
you gotta-
speak.
yeah, exactly right.
Because if you don't, then those parties who do are heard. You're not.
You're not.
Yes.
That's exactly
That's
right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason I write, is that I'm not you. I would not be able to go out and organize and do those things, but I can write. And I can write about the things that interest me and I think will be interesting to other people. It's a form of organization. It's a form of activism. Just what you decide to write about is a form of activism, because there are so many other things that you could write about. So making the choice of, I'm going to write about this but not about that, is saying, okay, this is what I think is most important at this point in time.
Yes. Well, you know what? There's another aspect I see of this, is that we're too quick to want to divide ourselves by political parties. Yes, there's a certain philosophy in each party. It changes at times and all. But what I see the average citizen doing is relying on what they say sound bites, and especially the stations that are more entertainment than they are news, and almost a way of brainwashing to divide us. I feel that way.
I agree with a lot of that. Okay, people who watch us, for the most part, we know are activists. They're concerned with what's going on in their towns and the localities across the state. Okay, so we know that. We're well aware of that. The other thing is the working people don't have the time to research all this stuff.
That's
And
right.
I get mad when people say, well, these folks, why aren't they at the town meeting? Because they got kids and they're working all day and they're not getting to the town meeting, because at the town meeting, or in New London, by the time they get up there, 30 people have already signed their names to speak, and these individuals are not going to be heard. So we try to provide a way that they're heard,
Right.
and we ask them through action. And it works very well for me over the years that I've developed that crew and those individuals that have enough time to maybe catch the show, find out what's going on, read a little bit about what I'm saying in my dyslexic manner too. Facebook is a powerful tool, more powerful than I think than some of the organizational stuff I've ever done, because I'm totally myself there with all the mistakes and everything else, and it gets corrected. And that's what I find, that, okay, on an issue, if we're on a politician or we're on an issue, I ask people to get out and do stuff, they do it.
well, before this morning we were talking about the new study that came out about how divided people are, and literally that that it's boiled down to almost a hate attitude. The liberals hate the conservatives. The conservatives hate the liberals. And it's not dislike. It's actual hate. It's
Visceral.
Visceral.
Oh, it is.
Visceral.
It is.
It's visceral. It's terrible.
And so, if you're going into, whomever comes into being president, you're dealing with that degree of divisiveness in the population. How do you pull everybody together? I don't know. Now, whether some of that is caused by the attitudes around the current president and his race, that's a factor, and we would all be less than honest to say that it wasn't.
We said it wasn't. Yes.
It wasn't. That's part of it. Same thing with a woman, is that there is that segment of the population who could have Mother Teresa, who could have whomever come in, and they would hate and they would not vote for her, and they would be against her because female.
She's a
Because
female.
she's a female.
I don't know. It's really interesting. I look at the media. The media that we deal with now is powerful, very, very powerful. We here all use the internet and stuff like that. You know, in the group that follows me, it appears most of them are under 45. Okay, you would think, because I'm an old man, that there would be older individuals,
yeah.
but the vast majority are 45 and up, many under 35 voters, 18 and older that can vote and stuff like that. So, I mean, when I looked at the statistics, I went like, you know, this is the individuals that you're talking to and that you're speaking to. These are young folk. These are, which makes me feel good that they're, you know, hopefully they're listening or
Yes.
at least, you know,
But-
hearing.
Yes, but you're also coming down and you're saying something. You're taking decided stands, and people can relate to that. Part of the issue is that you've got the afraid to say anything dramatic on one side or the other because you're going to alienate the other side.
Sure. I said that just in this conversation.
Sure.
With my little pin.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it is an interesting situation in the politics of this.
Well, you've got demographics, you've got organizations, you've got shifts in leadership, you've got shifts in economics, all occurring at the same time. Shifts in the world, in the leadership of the world.
Yes.
And so somebody who's coming in has to be able to very quickly adapt and be able to deal with all that. Who's better prepared to be able to do that on day one? Remember all that about he's ready to be president on day one? Hillary, Rodham Clinton.
All right, but here's the question.
No question about it.
All right, but here's the question. Who of the big rollers in this world, and they rule this country to some extent economically, who economically, and this is where it's hard for her or anyone that's running for president, how do you do what's right for the people and realize that since the Supreme Court has decided that money is freedom of speech, I always thought it came out of your pocket, not your mouth, but that's okay. How does Hillary navigate this? Who is supporting her?
George Soros, Tom
oh,
Steyer.
yeah,
So she has money.
She has money. She's
She has-
not worried about money.
In fact, this is part of the issue about the Democratic primaries. She's got over $1 billion lined up.
Right, right.
Okay.
No wonder they're throwing the kitchen sink at her.
Well, of course, but no other Democratic candidate has the money sources. So Bernie Sanders very quickly found out. Sorry, Bernie, no money for
No
you.
money.
For
There's
you.
no money.
I don't know where Martin O'Malley's going to get his money. You have, on the Republican side, I wrote about this, you have Cruz, who found a hedge fund manager in New York, right?
New York, right.
New
the guy
York,
what's-
who's backing him. He's a billionaire because he managed to hit it right on derivatives.
Right, right.
So now he's a captain of industry. Well, and if by some strange fluke of the world that Ted Cruz becomes president, which means that you and I automatically go to Bolivia.
Oh my God!
Who's he going to answer to? Who's he going to answer to?
One billionaire?
One billionaire.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and you see, this is the thing, and you can't fault Hillary, and you can't fault any of the other politicos or politicians that are looking for this. This is the way it's been set up. This is the only
the way
way
you
you
have
can
to
do
do
it, and there's no other way to do it, whether you don't like it or
Well,
not.
one point, and one thing that is going to become a bigger factor as we get closer to Election Day, there is the possibility that the next president could nominate 4 candidates for the Supreme Court.
Oh, yes.
Definitely
Yes.
2.
Yes, they're all aging.
They're all aging, and so which 4?
That's why we need a Democrat in there.
Yeah,
Yes.
which 4 get nominated is going to have a big say about the future of the country, but the future of the world.
That's true.
And here's the curiosity point. We treat everything as being United States or local, but the reality is everything that's done has an impact on the rest of the world.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
So if you let's take the craziest and the most inconsequential of the Republican candidates. Let's say Donald Trump, by some strange
Oh, you're not going to go with Bush?
Oh, Jeb?
Jebby, baby? Okay, Donald Trump. Let's
Donald,
go.
let's say
All right,
Donald
let's
Trump.
say Donald Trump.
Donald Trump and his
I
hair.
like his hair.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Becomes president.
The Donald Duck.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Becomes president.
Okay.
Who do you think he would nominate to the Supreme Court?
Oh my God.
Oh,
I don't even want to. I don't
probably,
even want to think. I don't even want to think who we'd be looking for.
Or Rand Paul, or
Any of them.
or Lindsey Graham, or whomever.
Well, all you in that respect, all you have to do is understand what Scalia just said about interpreting the Constitution. He's a literalist.
Yes.
He said it's a dead, 3 times, document. It ain't a dead document. It's no more. It's like the Catholic. I hate the argument of the literalist versus how you interpret Scripture. It's a living document that changes with time and everything else, and you interpret it off of tradition and stuff like that. That's what the popes and all
Yes.
Mm.
those people are supposed to be about. It's the same thing with the Constitution.
Right.
It was meant to change.
It was meant, well,
With-
but also you have a group of men and women. There were women involved in the formation of the Constitution.
You're right, exactly right.
Abigail Adams, for
You're
one,
right.
that wrote the Constitution based on what they knew and what they wanted at the time.
At the time.
That's 220 some odd years ago.
Right.
223 years ago. And it's evolved over time. It's
With
had to
amendments,
with amendments.
Yeah.
And additions.
in additions and papers on both sides.
Yeah.
Federal paper. Nobody.
Sure.
When he said that, I went like,
Why is he in the Supreme Court?
yeah. Why is he on the Supreme Court? If that is what you're saying, you got to. And there's scary people
But the point is
that
that
believe like him.
well, the point is that, as you said, an originalist. That means that he goes and he tries to. What would Hamilton and Madison and so on interpret the current situation to be based on 220 years
well,
ago?
now we're oracles here. Who
Who
knows
knows?
what they would
They
do?
never
But
conceived of all this.
No.
That is a frightening thing to say. I think to any lawyer, any attorney, it's a dead document.
How, the thing is,
History
the
changes,
core of that
everything
document says that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Listen, that's the core of the document,
No.
and that's how it lives and breathes.
And it breathes.
It breathes through we the people.
We the people. That's exactly right. That's what I believe.
But it's we the money now.
Oh,
How much you can be bought.
well, that's the scary thing. How you make a corporation a person is beyond
Freedom
me.
of speech is money.
Well, actually, I know a little bit about that one.
Yeah, I know. you do.
Yes.
There's a legal precedent behind it, but they took the legal precedent, which is basically around stockholder rights,
Right.
and bastardized it to be that that a corporation should have the same right to influence elections as anybody else, and that's not the case.
No,
No. And you know,
they took a big jump on that one.
one and Justice Ginsburg, who's now everyone's hero, she went ballistic on that. And if you read what she wrote as in response to it, that's about as nasty a response to Scalia and the others about how you interpreted this as you possibly can without being, and still be a Supreme Court justice.
I'm old, I don't care.
Well,
It's also Ruth Bader Ginsburg too.
Yeah. She, 84 years old. God bless
Sure.
her.
God bless
Sure.
her.
What we hope is that that nobody gets in there as president that can keep this in the Scalia basket. I mean that's.
Well, whatever it was meant to be about money entering politics, it's not working in the positive way it was supposed to work. It's ruining it.
Well, if you go back and you look at, if you're going to, here's the hypocrisy to me of Scalia and the originalists. Who wrote the original document? They never foresaw being full-time politicians.
No.
There were gentlemen
Right.
farmers
They
who
were
were
gentlemen
farmers who were
right? That's right,
politicians.
right. That's exactly right.
Who did that. And so there's no way they could have foresaw what would occur. There's no way they could foresaw the internet. There's no way they could foresaw cars. There's no way they could foresaw airplanes or whatever else it may be. So to say that we have to go back to what they originally thought. Well, yes, about the ideals of what the country should be, but no, not about how they're how they are literally conducted.
That's exactly right.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
how they're staged and choreographed.
Right, and built upon over time, and that's the fallacy of the whole thing.
Term limits, and we can as voters impose them, and we just don't get it.
That one I'll have a disagreement with you.
Go ahead.
Tip O'Neill.
Well, yeah, but that's when we had real statesmen, wasn't it?
There's still a few real statesmen around, but if you have term limits, you won't have a Tip O'Neill.
I know, but then how do you break the terrible culture that's going on?
You vote for the right people.
Yeah, you have to be able. Well, that's the
If
key
they
to
give
all-
us the right
Well,
people.
no. I really do. I think key to all our situations is the civic duty of each and every one of us. And
then
that
go
is
home.
not. And well, the problem is that we somehow civic duty is only taught to
If it's taught.
if it's
If
taught.
it's taught.
If it's taught, it's taught in some schools where the educational level is expected to be a certain level, where there's expectation. It isn't taught in areas where they're not looking for the expectation. That's a nice way of me trying to say this. I would say it in
Keep
another
the
way.
stupid people stupid.
You want to keep people uneducated, uninformed,
Yes.
and stuff like that. That's how you control them.
And I see
Okay,
a
so
trend
that's-
toward that right
well,
now,
Well,
too.
that's dumbing down is clearly a situation that,
and-
depending on where you live in the country.
Right. Well, but it's also how it's communicated is we can't afford it.
Yeah, right. Well, that's
Right.
baloney.
Well, if you look at tax rates and you look at all the rest of that, the taxes are as low on individuals and they're as low on corporations as they have
Right.
been for whatever. So this argument that we don't have the money, yeah, we do have the money. It's a question of what do you want to spend it on, and the question is who is contributing towards it. And the idea that you can't bump up the tax rates on people who earn more than $1 million, that's nonsense.
It is.
It is. But they're the ones who are contributing the money to the campaigns, and it goes from there. The logic.
I only got a couple of minutes left, so I really want to. Kathy, I want you to say at least a minute what you're doing, where you're going. Talk to your constituency.
Well,
And
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And,
Yeah.
and then after you're finished, you can segue to Michael.
I'll make this as brief as a Kathy Johnson can possibly make it. First of all, I'm not taking any money from developers. I'm funding my own campaign. I'm not taking money from the Democratic Town Committee. We're making our own signs in Oxford. I think frugality begins at home. I want to show the citizens of Oxford that you can run a campaign with issues and communication, and there's many ways to communicate, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I'm asking eventually, when I'm on paper to do so, $5 and $10 donations if you want to give them to me, just to get some of my literature out. My first and foremost issue in Oxford is to keep the town safe. All our firemen, ambulance, road crews, the police. Secondly is, of course, I'm a retiree and I'm on a fixed income, so I want to stay frugal and yet not be penny wise and pound foolish. I support education, and I want to see the town grow in an orderly manner and keep the last vestiges of the rural character we can possibly have in Oxford, Connecticut. Thank you.
Sounds good. I can't vote down there. You want me to come down and cheat? Michael.
Well, or get people to go in the traditional Chicago style, which is vote early, vote often.
Vote early, vote often, that's right.
Well, first of all, on your Facebook page, put where people can send a donation to you.
Yes, I can't do that yet. I'm signed up to be only using $1,000 of my own money with this preliminary, but after the caucus, yes.
Okay. All I can say is please come and go to my website and see the articles and see what we're going to discuss. I will say the next article, or at least the one I'm working on, is about the death penalty. And we may be talking about that.
We may be talking that on my other show.
On your other
Exactly
show.
right. We'll be talking about the death penalty.
And we have the major case, the penalty phase of the Zarnoff trial is being done. So and it's got the potential to divide people's opinion on what should be done.
Right,
Okay.
and we're running out of time, and I want to thank you folks, and we'll talk to you. You can run the street, and God bless you all. Pray for me, I pray for you, and I believe my street will be up there and running.